Vanguard versus Fidelity. Which one should you choose for your investments? Before we get started, make sure you hit the like button as well as subscribe to my channel. I post videos weekly about personal finance and technology, so please subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. Now, which brokerage firm should you use in order to invest your money? Vanguard or Fidelity? I've got you covered with a detailed review of each to help you make that decision. Although you can invest in many things with Vanguard or Fidelity, I'm going to talk about the account types of Roth IRA and IRAs. So I'm going to break these down into 3 rounds. Ready? Round 1. So round 1 is going to cover investments. Whether you choose Vanguard or Fidelity, both are amazing. Let's first take a look at Vanguard. Now with Vanguard, you can invest in individual stocks, stock funds, bond funds, ETF, and index funds. The minimum to invest in most Vanguard funds is $3,000. So Vanguard's popular S&P 500 fund, which is VFIAX, or the Total Stock Market Index Fund, which is VTSAX, all have a $3,000 minimum to start investing. Now, if you do not have $3,000 to start, you can choose a target date fund, which has a minimum investment of $1,000 to invest with Vanguard. So a fund such as Vanguard's Target Retirement Fund of 2050 can be started with as little as $1,000 of investment. Now, if you don't have $1,000 to invest, you can invest in ETFs for as little as $1 per share. So you can choose Vanguard's S&P 500 ETF fund, which is VOO, or the Total Stock Market ETF, which is VTI, and invest with as little as $1 in each of these ETFs. Now, all of the Vanguard funds that I mentioned, whether it's the ETFs or index funds, are all tried and true. So when you talk about mutual funds or index funds, these funds that I mentioned for Vanguard, VTI, VOO, VTSAX, and VFIAX, all come up. So let's take a look at Fidelity and show how they compare with their investments. And just like Vanguard, Fidelity allows you to invest in individual stocks, stock funds, bond funds, ETF, and index funds. Now, unlike Vanguard, Fidelity has no minimums to invest in most of their funds. Fidelity even has 4 index funds that are called zero index funds that have no fees and no expense ratio. Now, 2 of these funds are really popular with Fidelity customers. The Fidelity S&P 500 fund, which is FNILX, and the Total Stock Market Index Fund, which is FZROX. Both of these index funds have 0 fees. So with Fidelity, there is no minimum investment of $3,000 or a minimum investment of $1,000 like some target date Vanguard funds. Now, of course, there are paid versions of these Fidelity index funds, but why would you pay fees in order to invest? The best thing to do is just to invest in the Fidelity zero funds if you're going to invest in index funds. Although Vanguard is known for their index funds, there is still a $3,000 minimum with most of their funds. So for the average investor that has less than $3,000, Fidelity is going to be the best choice for investments. The winner of round 1 is Fidelity because they have more investment options that require less money than Vanguard. Round 2 is cost and fees. So let's talk about some of the cost and fees associated with Vanguard or Fidelity. Let's start with Fidelity this time. Like I mentioned, Fidelity has 4 index funds that have 0 expense ratios. So you do not pay any fees to invest with these particular index funds. You can invest in these 4 index funds with as little as $1. Now, there is no annual service fee in order to invest with Fidelity. The other Fidelity funds that charge an expense ratio is half the cost of the Vanguard funds on average. So like the Fidelity Total International Stock Market Index Fund, which is FTIHX, has an expense ratio of 0.06%. The Vanguard equivalent, which is the Total International Stock Market Index Fund, which is VTIAX, has an expense ratio of 0.11%. 4%. So Fidelity beats Vanguard's fees in most of their funds that they have available. Let's take a look at Vanguard's cost and fees. Now Vanguard charges a $20 annual fee in order to invest with them. This annual fee is waived if you have $50,000 invested with them or if you sign up for e-statements. So for Vanguard's S&P 500 fund, which is VFIAX, has an expense ratio of 0.04%. So on a $10,000 balance, you would pay $400 in expenses to own this fund. Now Vanguard's expense ratio for this fund is extremely low, but when you look at Fidelity's zero funds that charge zero fees, it's very hard to choose Vanguard over Fidelity. Although in most situations I would use Vanguard for my investments, Fidelity offers way more options for the small investor. The best choice is gonna be Fidelity in the long run to save you fees. The winner of round 2 is Fidelity. This is because Fidelity offers 4 index funds that have a zero expense ratio. In addition, they have no annual fees, no minimums in order to invest with them, and they have a lower fee structure than Vanguard. So round 3. Who is the best overall broker? So which one is the best one to choose? Vanguard versus Fidelity. Vanguard is the industry leader for mutual funds and index funds, especially because they have a low expense ratio. Vanguard essentially started the low cost fund. Since Vanguard was known for their low cost funds, it required other brokers to lower their fees to compete with Vanguard. Although Vanguard has some low expense ratio funds, Fidelity has lowered their fees to where they are now cheaper than Vanguard in most of their funds. Now with that said, I have a Vanguard Roth IRA account and a brokerage account with Fidelity. So either one that you choose is gonna have a good expense ratio and is gonna save you money either way. When you compare Vanguard's ETFs to Fidelity's ETFs, Fidelity has a higher expense ratio than Vanguard when it comes to ETFs. So if you like to use ETFs in your brokerage account like Robinhood or M1 Finance, you will actually save money by using a Vanguard ETF versus a Fidelity ETF. The expense ratio for Fidelity is gonna be a lot higher than choosing a Vanguard ETF. So really it depends on what you're investing in as to if you should choose Vanguard versus Fidelity. So the winner of round 3 is Vanguard, because outside of investing in stock market index funds, all of the other investments such as bond index funds and ETFs are going to be a lower expense ratio with Vanguard. So Vanguard is the best overall broker to choose if you're investing in ETFs, bonds, or some stock index funds. These funds are going to save you money overall versus Fidelity. So the winner of round 3 is Vanguard. Since Fidelity won 2 rounds and Vanguard only won 1 round, the best overall broker you should choose when you're looking at Vanguard versus Fidelity is Fidelity. The reason why is because overall, if you're investing in the stock market or stock index funds, Fidelity is going to be your best choice because there is zero fees associated with these funds. Now if I had to start all over again and choose either Fidelity or Vanguard to invest my first $1,000, I would choose Fidelity to open up my Roth IRA account. I would use Fidelity's zero index funds in this Roth IRA. Check out my video I did on the Fidelity zero index funds for more information on how these funds work. I would also open up a taxable brokerage account with Robinhood or M1 Finance and choose Vanguard ETFs in this account. Since I can invest with as little as $1 with Vanguard ETFs, this makes the perfect fit for a Robinhood or M1 Finance account. Now to get some free money or stock, make sure to use my link below for M1 Finance or Robinhood when you open an account using my link. I'll put a link to both of those in the description box below. Make sure to check out my other investment videos on the channel. Also, be sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.